Greetings, everyone. So I'm back with my friend Mauricio Ortiz. Mauricio just survived the lightning round. So we just had an interview with him. It was our 5 minutes, 15 questions in 5 minutes. He survived, did great, gave us some useful information. But we also want to have this slightly longer video so that we can get into a little bit more detail with him. He's got a wealth of experience to help us understand more about his work. Mauricio, welcome back.
Thank you.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about first of all is you mentioned some themes during our lightning round, and one of them that might be surprising for people is the theme of service. You know, when people think of information technology, I'm sure they think about technology, you know, and I'm sure they think about computers, but what they might not think about is that theme of service. Can you comment a little bit on what it means to serve people in information technology?
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Yes, this is the deal. All that is done in information technology is about designing, building information systems that help store or modify information for someone to make decisions after consuming that information, right? And that someone needs to make decisions, and those are most of the time, if not 100% of the time, business decisions. Is trying to understand how sales are going. Is trying to understand how the competition is doing. Is trying to understand what other markets to explore, what else to sell, what else to produce, what else to build. It's there's always business behind that. Information technology exists not just because someone wants it to exist. It exists for a reason, for a purpose. It is usually help other people get something done, right? And that's what I mean with service is putting technology and information and making it accessible to people, and that requires service interaction. That requires the IT practitioner, the IT professionals to interact with those users or consumers of the technology.
Yes.
And there's this human interaction component that it's always there. It's all the time. So and people who uses the technology, the information technology, they are not always happy, or they are not always nice people. They are not always. They can be very challenging folks, and they can be frustrated when those information technology systems and that information is not delivering, is not giving to them what they expect, and they are very anxious and they are very frustrated, and they can be even difficult to deal with. So as an IT practitioner or professional, someone working in this field, sooner or later you will have to be dealing with great people or not so great people, or people in general who is not having a great time, or who are having a great time. So it's in the end it's all about serving. It's all about helping others, because that's the whole purpose of dealing or making sure information technology systems and information in general works. It works for a purpose, for a business.
So you just hit, I think, on one of the questions we talked about in the lightning round as well, which was, you know, you kind of made a joke about misconceptions. So you know, when people think about an information technology person, an information technology worker, and you made a comment about most people would think they're geeks, they're nerds, but what you just talked about really flies in the face of that. So the people interaction is a really, really key component of being an IT professional for that. Another thing you mentioned was about learning. I think for most people, they would understand that certainly technology moves very, very quickly. You know, if we've got a smartphone, it seems like every few months there's some kind of updates happening to it. So we get that idea. And you mentioned that you personally do a lot of your own study. How did you get into education, into the educational part of your work? Was there an initial university degree or college program or diploma that you did? And then how did that extend into what you're doing these days in learning on your own?
Thank you, Mark. Yes, I mentioned in the previous session in the fire lighting. What do you call it again?
Lightning round.
Lightning round. In the lightning round, I mentioned that I came out of a school, engineering school, specifically in electronics engineering. Well, that was, you might think that there's not much relationship between being an electronics engineer. The training I received there was for actually designing and building electronic devices,
Right.
mostly hardware,
Right.
right? Behind any piece of hardware, there is always a piece of firmware or software that make that hardware work,
Yes.
right? But the focus is more in the hardware, in the electronic devices, tangible devices, right?
Yes.
But that was kind of my education background comes
Okay.
from there. What I've managed to do when I started working in an information technology area, team was applying basic fundamental concepts of engineering, which is precisely design,
Right.
and build based on a design, and then test what you design and build, and finally make something work. And connected to the previous question, something that works, what for?
Right.
To help someone get something done, to help
Right.
someone else achieve her objectives and her
Right.
outcomes. And that's when value is realized. When
Right.
you, as an engineer, on any areas of engineering, if you design something, build something, make it work to specifications, and that something is used by an individual or by an organization, and they manage to get things done better, or
Yeah.
more things, or make more profit, or gain anything better,
Yes.
well, that justifies your design. and
Right.
that and that's when they realize value out of what you produced, what you delivered, right?
Right. Right.
Information technology theory says that is always about co-creating value. Whoever is delivering information technology services and whoever is consuming those services, those two parties
Yes.
together co-create value, right?
Isn't that
It,
interesting? It's
it
it's
is.
interesting because for different, if you think about different roles that could exist within an organization, for some of them it's pretty clear how you can measure their success or measure the effectiveness. So, for
Mhm.
example, if you're in sales, there's real numbers. How many new customers did you acquire? How much revenue did you bring in? Maybe in finance, there could be different measures you're putting in place to cut costs, for example. Information technology is a bit different from what I understand from what you're saying. It's a little different, right? So,
It is.
so one thing I got from what you said is, you're trying to generate value um, in terms of being effective in serving someone with some kind of platform or system that operates according to some specifications. So it's really about value generation in those
It
terms.
is. It is
Okay.
exactly that, value generation, and in the end, the satisfaction comes when your customer, whoever is using the technology, the services you deliver, actually they see that they did better. If they were looking for increasing sales, and
Yes.
you were able to make an application or a system work to help that individual to improve their sales,
Yes.
well, that's when you manage to co-create value, and that's when your job, your work was justified.
Yeah. So you kind of view the other functions within the company. Would you view them as customers then? The finance department, the HR department, the business units, are they customers, or how would you define your relationship with them?
They are in a sense customers. Obviously, that's when that's the starting point of the relationship, because you have to go a little bit farther than just treating them as customers. The relationship needs to become more personal, more empathy, because you that's when your human component, your feelings come into the picture. If you are just like a robot, you can be replaced by a robot sometime.
Right.
You need to bring your human side, and be able to have that emotional intelligence to understand what your customer or the person you are serving in the end is
Yes.
needing, is feeling, is expecting, and trying to read your customers' minds as close as possible and as efficiently and effectively as possible. That
Wow.
in the end helps you a lot in you making the better decisions,
So the
right?
whole, I mean, getting along with people, the whole, emotional IQ, empathy, all those things become very important, right?
Very,
Feel the pain of the customer.
very. There are kind of two main types of people in information technology.
Okay.
Those who are very people driven and are in the front side and the front end of the shop, of the IT shop. They face users all the time. They interpret what the customer and the client needs. And there's the other group who are more technical, are more behind scenes. But even those who are behind scenes, whatever they are doing, the purpose is the same: is help someone. So if you are designing a solution, you are very technical, you are
Right.
designing a solution, or you are fixing a solution that is not giving the value that is expected, and you need to think that you are doing that work because it's helping someone else. Whatever
Right.
you are doing is going to help someone else get something done.
Right.
You cannot lose that perspective.
Okay.
Otherwise you will not find the purpose and the reason for doing your work.
So we've got a lot of people that will be listening to this show that might be just in the beginning of their journey. They're just maybe starting to apply for jobs in IT, for example.
Mhm.
What would you say would be important qualities that you're looking for? When you're recruiting. Let's say tomorrow you've got an open position for an entry level information technology role. Just can you speak briefly about some of the qualities you'd be looking for?
I will look for resourcefulness,
Right.
creativity, and definitely at least an open mind to help others,
Right. Right.
right?
So yeah.
Because in an entry level, you might not even know how good you are serving other people. Not yet. Maybe you don't have that very clear. But
Yes.
at least you need to know if you hate doing that,
Right.
right? If you hate doing that, no, you're gonna have a hard time in information technology, right?
It's super interesting, Mauricio, because I think that that's so different than what a lot of people think. That's one of the reasons we're doing this show, is to
Mm-hmm.
kind of knock down some of those misconceptions, right? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people think that in information technology, you're locked in a room in the basement of a building somewhere, in the lab writing programs. And I think you've really helped us understand that there's a real huge people component. I guess
There,
that's
there is.
most jobs, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So you've been in IT for quite a long time. Are there some mistakes that you see young people make? So maybe you hire someone into an entry level position. Any specific things that you see them doing that are not helpful?
Oh, that's a very important topic, I guess. And I'm trying to think of. I worked. I've been working a long time already with co-op students, right? Folks who are in the final years of their university programs, and they have an opportunity to work in the corporate environment with real problems, real people, real business, right?
Yes.
Something I sometimes see that is actually gonna cause them some trouble to adjust and
Yeah.
make the most of the opportunity is when they really think, some of these young folks, they really think that they can have almost a management position right there.
Mm,
That they are very, most of them or all of them are very smart. So
yes.
it's not a problem of not being smart enough. No, all of them are very smart. And it's important to be ambitious. That's important. That motivates you to go farther,
Yes.
right? However, when you are not conscious of that learning first and crawling and walking first before running is important, that you need to warm up before you start running,
Right.
that's very important. Some folks, a few of them, make that mistake, but very quickly they learn that they were wrong.
Yes.
After
Yes.
a few weeks, they say, okay, it seems I'm going to be a manager here.
Totally.
It seems I have to learn some stuff. All I know is not. And that's another thing. They know a lot of great things. They can program a huge thing in seconds in their minds. They don't even need a keyboard. They
Right.
already have a program already in their minds.
Right.
Well, that's not that useful in information technology. That might be useful later, or that might be useful if you specialize in a very specific area
Yeah.
of information technology. But in general, that knowledge is not that useful
Yes.
in delivering services and in dealing with information technology systems, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's someone else already programmed those systems for you, right?
Right. Right.
And that's the deal. Exactly. So that knowledge is not that useful unless you work in a pure software development machine, what do you call it, corporation only
Yes.
dedicated to that.
Yes.
Well, maybe that, but in general,
It's true.
in the open industry,
Yeah.
where information technology departments are, that knowledge is not that useful. On the
Right.
contrary, being able to survive in the corporate environment, dealing with real people, dealing with people who are not that nice,
Right.
dealing with people who are very nice but they are not that helpful. All that
Right.
is a different jungle,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
very different than university on high school.
Right. And
You
the
need,
other thing that comes to mind, I think what you're saying, I think is really, really true. The other thing is, I don't think there's any substitute for experience. When I think about my own involvement, Mauricio, you and I have worked together in different capacities. And when I think about some of the major things that can happen on a project, sometimes you have intuition that you wouldn't have had the first time you did the project. But after you've done 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 20 technology implementations, you're able to read things in a different way. And that's something that, it's not that I think maybe you learn some of those skills through your education, but I don't think there's any substitute for the real world experience. Would you agree with that? Or
absolutely, 100%, 1,000%, and that is, and that's exactly the point. Is learning is a combination of both things. It's a balance that you need to have between consuming knowledge in any
yes,
shape, way, or form,
yeah,
reading, watching, seeing others doing something, you learn. And then you have to practice that. You need to execute in your own hands. And
yes,
that's when the amalgamation will occur. And that's when knowledge actually sticks in your
right,
head.
right,
And the more knowledge that you manage to get by consuming information and then by practicing and converting that information into knowledge, that's when wisdom comes,
right,
right? By
right,
doing it over and over and over again,
right,
not repeating the same exercise all the time. It's just doing the same activity, learning with the specifics of every new opportunity you have,
yeah,
right? That's what starts building wisdom. And is when with wisdom, when you become intuitive, right?
right,
And
right,
you get things on the spot. Oh, I am seeing this. Yes, of course, as you said, maybe a year ago or a month ago, I wouldn't have seen that,
yes,
right?
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
yes, that's a very good point. It's always looking for the opportunity to practice what you learn.
What are some Mauricio's? I know you do a lot of reading. You mentioned that you do a lot of self study. Are there any specific trends so that people would want to be aware of that you're seeing in technology? I mean, in terms of specific types of technology or the way that information technology is being used these days to help organizations.
Yes, there is something big happening right now, and is everybody talks about it. Is the concept of cloud computing, right? How things are changing dramatically. Some corporations, big corporations, are specializing every day more in actually um, offering the service of hosting or having in their facilities all the servers and big computers that organizations need to have. Usually,
Right,
traditionally, corporations used to have their computers, their large computers known as servers, in their own data centers within the same building. So
Right.
you have a corporation here in Calgary downtown. There's a bank, for example, and they have 6, 7 floors of a big building. In one of those floors, easily is a data center full of computers,
Right.
right? And they have had that for years and years and years. More recently, in the last decade or maybe less, all those computers that a bank or a corporation has in their own building, they can be hosted somewhere else. You don't even need to know where those computers are
Right.
located. They can be here in Canada, they can be in Toronto, they can be in the United States, they can be in many different cities. And because there are companies that they do that for business. They take all those computers, they see free space. Real estate in Calgary downtown is expensive, and that's your business is not computers, your business is banking. So what are you doing with all those computers?
Right.
You're spending money, you pay rent for that real estate, you need to keep them cool, you need to maintain and spend a lot of money and effort keeping those computers up and running. I'll do that for you.
Yes.
Give me those computers, I will host them somewhere else.
Right.
Or not even say that. They say, get rid of those computers. I'll get brand new computers for you, and it's gonna be
Right.
more cheaper, right? So because these organizations, that's what they do for business. They're very good doing that, and
Yes.
they have the ability of, if that bank, that's the example, if they need 10 computers more, they can create those computers in seconds,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's thanks to something called virtualization, right? All this hardware, all thinking about a computer is becoming, it's starting to look like software.
Right.
For a bank, from the perspective of the bank, they don't need to know what kind of hardware is behind. All they
Yeah.
see is a service. They need a server, is delivered as a service. So the guy in the bank say, I need 20 computers more because I need to process more information. In a
Yes.
matter of seconds, the other guy, the service provider of data centers,
Yes.
they put those 20 computers more
Yes.
to your disposition for you to
Yes.
use in a matter of seconds. Virtualization allows that, scaling up and down, scaling in and out. So
Yeah.
you can grow your power of computing very quickly, very fastly, and you only pay for what you consume. That's the other beautiful part of that.
Yes. Yes.
So that's why everybody's talking about cloud computing. Even everybody in here, every one of us, we take pictures all the time with our smartphone, right? And we have 5,000 pictures in our smartphone, and suddenly a message comes up and say, "Hey, move all those pictures to the cloud. Why
Right.
do you have them in your telephone?"
Right. Right. Right.
And then you will free all the space to take more pictures.
Right. Right.
And then you move them to the cloud. That's exactly the same concept.
Yes. Yes.
They can have as many pictures as you want.
Yes.
They have more room to have your pictures
It's interesting.
than the time you have in your life to take more pictures.
For sure. Mauricio,
Right?
it kind of connects back to your earlier point, just thinking about that, of service. Like
Mm-hmm.
what have these organizations like Facebook or Google, what have they done for you in doing that? Well, you and I don't need to worry about the storage for pictures on our phone, right? They
Exactly.
basically, to your point about serving us, they've helped us in that way, that we don't have to worry about it, right?
It's exactly that. And what a good point that you made with these known services. Facebook is nothing but a service, right? You truly think that's a website, that's a platform. Well, in the end, there's a bunch of people behind scenes making that look and work for you, so you love it, right?
Right.
They spend hours and hours and hours studying and analyzing what's the best way to show you the image that they know people will love to see,
Yes. Yes.
right? And they do that. They implement a new color for the background of Facebook, for example, and they make it work for everybody, and they start sensing, oh, it seems people are not liking this as we thought they were going to like it.
Right.
So they change it again, and they change it again, and they need it for making that change. They need to have a bunch of developers making a lot of work, and those developers need more computing power. And that's when they
Right.
call someone else, hey, we need more computers.
Right.
Please increase the power because we
Yes.
need more. And that's how all this
And
logic is
and
working right now.
in 5 seconds, the computers are prepared. Yeah.
Exactly. And they need to protect those computers, right? That's when they have you can have a bunch of computers in one data center and another bunch of computers somewhere else in the world, because the first ones can fail and the second ones will take over the work. The goal of Facebook, for just the example, Facebook should never be unavailable.
Right. Right.
It has to work always.
Yes.
24 by 7, that's the expectation, right? Because they have millions, billions of users all around the world. So they need to make it work always for everybody, wherever they are, at all times, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of work behind that. That's not easy.
Right.
And that's, and in the end, always service. It's always service.
Mauricio, I really enjoyed the conversation. For somebody that's watching this show, they're maybe not working in information technology right now, and now maybe they're thinking about it. Any last message that you want to leave for them if they're considering pursuing a career in information technology?
Well, be very open to spend a lot of time learning. There are many areas of professional work in life right now. You can do work in many areas.
Right.
And in general, all areas require you to be up to date.
Yes.
But information technology in general changes so fast.
Yes.
And is continuously changing compared to other many areas. It is way faster how it evolves and changes.
Right.
So it demands for practitioners to learn a lot.
You got to be a learner, and you got to be comfortable with change. That's
Yes.
what I've understood. Yeah.
Yes, very comfortable with change.
Awesome.
Not only comfortable, you need to start loving change.
Okay.
Right? Trust your peers, trust your team, trust your boss that if they are changing something, is because something better is coming.
Right.
And contribute to that change, right? Now, going back to learning doesn't mean reading books necessarily. You can have your own laboratory in your basement and learn tons, right? But still, you're gonna have to be dealing with looking for an opportunity to apply what you learned.
Wonderful.
Right?
Thank you so much, Mauricio. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Just want to thank you for your time. And I know you had other things to do on this weekend, but we thank you for it. Super fascinating conversation, and just really appreciate it. And hopefully this has been helpful for all of you that are thinking about a career in information technology, either making a change or starting out as information technology as your first job. So be sure to tune in for other interviews, other conversations we'll be having like this with people like Mauricio that love their work, and we want you to love your work too. So be sure to tune in for other conversations. Thanks, Mauricio.
You're very welcome, Mark.
Take care.